Good evening, everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. Don't know who's here, but...
Yes, very good sound.
Okay, good.
Dandavad.
Dandavad. Okay, so as most of you know, I'm sure that Srila Madhusudana Maharaj can't be with us this evening. And that will be the case for some weeks now because he'll be in Thailand. Time difference makes it prohibitive. And actually, I'll be in Thailand too after this week. So this will be my last time with you all for a little while as well. So my apologies for being a poor substitute for Maharaj, but I'm very happy to see so many of you have still turned out, even though he won't be with us. So, and as he would always begin, we shall also always begin with a small vandanam, or as he says, mini vandanam. So we can begin that now. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitangscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakuram Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishe Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Sham Sundar Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharbika Govinda Sundar Ji Ki Jai. So welcome everyone to our Monday Zoom for London and everyone else around the world that can join with us. I gave a title today, a little self-indulgent picture of myself, and the title is Exclusive Regard, Relative Inquiry, and Service. So this is coming from the famous verse in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekyanti te jnanam jnaninas tatra darshana. This is Krishna is instructing Arjuna in this verse, and he's telling how one should approach a spiritual master for their eternal spiritual benefit, and he's giving three criteria. Tadvidi pranipatena. That means if you want to know the truth, means truth, absolute truth. If you're eager to be a student of the absolute truth, if you want to connect with the plane of absolute reality, then you must come forward with these three qualifications. First of all, pranipat. Pranipat means exclusive regard. So that means you should be, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, you should have embraced and accepted the creed of Krishna consciousness. This is the first requisite for us to approach the Lord. Not that this week I'm studying with the Hare Krishnas. Next week I'm off to the local Zen Buddhist temple, and then maybe I'll come back to the Hare Krishna temple, or I might be going to the evangelical church, or maybe whatever it may be. That kind of flitting around. Of course, when we first come, that may be necessary for us, and actually, I would encourage that. I would encourage you, if you're new to Krishna consciousness, if you're new, a new, you can say, searcher of the truth, then go everywhere, try everything, see what's available there, and try and be open to all possibilities. And if it fits with your inner necessity, because we're all on at different levels of our internal progress in our spiritual life, then various creeds may fit, and various teachings may fit with our internal necessity at a particular time. But we will say that the most encompassing, all-embracing, and greatest revelation of reality and divinity in the world is coming through the path of Krishna consciousness. And for one who's convinced of that, then he or she can then approach a genuine spiritual master with exclusive regard. So I am convinced this is the path for me. This is the eternal path, the golden road. This is where I bow my head and place my faith. So that's called pranipat, exclusive regard. And that begins with the acceptance of the creed. And then secondly, after that, the acceptance of a spiritual master. So the acceptance of a spiritual master, that's very crucial in spiritual life. In fact, the experts in our line, they have all said that this is the number one most important thing, to accept and embrace the service of a spiritual master. So coming to them with some exclusive regard is very good. But that doesn't mean, that to disrespect all others. But no, rather it is to embrace everything, but with a focal point, with one pointed attention to the service and connection of our spiritual master and spiritual masters, which we find in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's giving his obeisance, Vande Gurum. He says Gurum means spiritual masters, plural, because we may have many spiritual masters in our journey. But that means spiritual masters of the same line, of the same creed. That doesn't mean a spiritual master of this creed and spiritual master of another one and different. It doesn't mean that. It means within Krishna consciousness, within the line of Krishna consciousness, we may find that we have many guardians, and we hope for that. We're looking for that, to have many guardians on the road. But where we go, where we will take Diksha, means our spiritual connection, that is only one. There can only be one initiating spiritual master or Diksha Guru, only one. But many Shiksha Guru. And our line is specifically Shiksha Guru based on that conception of Shiksha Guru. But it is important that those we embrace as our Shiksha Guru, they must be of the same line as our Diksha Guru, preferably. So that's pranipat. And second is pariprashna, which means relevant inquiry. So what does that mean? That means that, first of all, the disciple, the aspiring devotee, should examine themselves. In spiritual terms, that's called atmanikepana. self-analysis. So that means looking at ourselves in the light of the teachings of Krishna consciousness, the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We look at our own self in that light. Where am I related to that? As a beginner, we will find that we are very much on the periphery of that we don't understand very much. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said this was one of the things that I first noticed when I came to the Gaudiya Math, was that they don't care for anybody else's opinion. They only care what does the scripture say, what do the saints say. This is their criterion, not what any Tom, Dick, or Haridas has to say, but what the scripture says, what the Vaishnava says, what the masters in the line of Krishna consciousness, what they say. So in the light of that, where am I? And also, what is my prospect? Where is it that I want to go? What is it that I wish to attain? All of these things we should examine within ourselves. And then to understand where we are and where we want to go to, and what's the method for getting from here to there, that means pariprashna. That means we have to apply this principle of relevant inquiry, asking something which will be helpful for the progress of our inner spiritual wealth, our inner spiritual life. Cultivating the spirit within us is the most important thing. And how to cultivate that? We may have many doubts, we may have many questions, we may have many misunderstandings. So necessary for us to ask some relevant questions. That's called pariprashna. Once when I was with Guru Maharaj, one of our godbrothers, one of the sannyasi godbrother, he asked Srila Sridhar Maharaj, could you please explain to us the 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj's reply to him was, first, you should learn to ask what is a proper question. You should learn what is a proper question to ask your spiritual master. I do not consider that to be a proper question for you. Maybe it's a proper question for somebody, but not for that particular devotee at their particular stage of advancement in Krishna consciousness. So not just asking questions out of curiosity or, to so that we can give some like really fantastic classes where everyone will go, wow, never heard that before, and like that. Not for that, but genuine question. I am here. I am lacking. My whole life is misconceived. Now, what do I do to go where you are? I want to go where you are. I want to be where you are. I want to be able to advance in my spiritual life genuinely. So first of all, that demands us to understand where we are now, because without understanding that, we don't have any platform from which to rise. If we're always, as Guru Maharaj says, like toying with imagination, imaginary ideas about Krishna consciousness, we'll never make any real substantial progress. We have to find that platform where we are now. You can say like the launch pad, if you like. When the rocket has the launch pad, that has to have, some stability. Where we are now, we have to find that stable place where we can launch ourselves or be launched by the Vaishnava towards our spiritual end, towards our goal. And that's a progressive thing that we shall always be doing that, one stage after another, after another, after another. So this is pariprashna. And then last but not least, sevaya. Sevaya means service, to serve. We have to serve Lord Krishna. Sometimes when Srila Govinda Maharaj would give initiation, he would say to the newly initiated devotees, And it is my expectation that from this day forward, you will serve Lord Krishna every day. This is the meaning of initiation. Initiation, it means to begin. To initiate something means to begin something. It's not like that's the end of everything. Oh yeah, I got my beads, I got my spiritual name, and now I'm a card-carrying member of the club now, and everything's finished. No, it's just the beginning. The initiation is just the beginning. It's the admission into the Chaitanya Saraswat school of divinity, if you like. You've been given admission to come and study there in that school, in the school of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, in the school of Srila Govinda Maharaj, in the school of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You have been given entrance there. Now what will you do? And now you must, as Srila Govinda Maharaj says, should we surrender and lie down, or should we surrender and serve? It means surrender and serve. And why do we have to serve? Is it that there's a kind of a modern idea that different authors play with this idea? There's I think he's British author, fantasy author called Neil Gaiman, and he's written many books. Most famously, one of his books was made into a TV series called American Gods. I don't know if any of you have seen, but the premise is this: that all the gods exist as long as people worship them. And if people forget and don't worship them, if they become forgotten, then they no longer exist. So a kind of anthropomorphic idea. I saw one guru speaking, not a guru in our line, but a guru in another like Hindu line. And his idea was this. He said that by your faith, you make an ordinary stone into Lord Shiva. You can make a stone into the Shiva lingam by your faith. It becomes transformed, something like that. But that is not the correct vision. The Lord Shiva exists eternally, and the Shiva lingam exists eternally. And whether you worship or believe or anything, it doesn't matter. He's there, still existing, outside of your participation. So we don't think that, to substantiate the existence of the divine, that we have to serve them and worship them and believe in them. Otherwise, they don't exist. Of course, in one sense, that is true. For us, they may not exist if we don't do any of those things. But it doesn't mean that separate from our perspective, they don't exist. They exist eternally. The divine exists eternally. Only this is the method by which we connect with them. We connect with them through service. And service should be under the direction of a higher Vaishnava. It should always be that, not just we do some fanciful thing that we like and offer that to Krishna and that becomes service. No, service must descend to us, must be given by us. There's a very simple example which is often given, is that if the spiritual master says, please bring me a glass of water, and you bring him a glass of milk and say, well, I think you might like this better, Gurudev, that won't be service. No, I asked for a glass of water. So then, according to the higher, we get some service. But what's the necessity for all this service? The necessity is that because the divine world, the spiritual world, is the abode of divine service. Every entity there is a serving unit. Every entity, every living being, spiritual being in the spiritual world is serving. And Krishna is the only served. Everyone in the spiritual realm, a servant of Lord Krishna. And there is, degree and variety and hierarchy and all of those things, but everyone there is cent percent service oriented. There's no, and so when we say we need to serve Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava, that will give us entrance into the plane of the absolute. It's not just something that we need to do for now, and once we reach there, we become liberated and everything, and all that service is behind me now. I don't need to. No, eternal service. The prospect of Krishna consciousness is to become an eternal servant of the Lord. And in that service, actually, we will find our purpose and our satisfaction. And the details of that, that's another thing that will come at its proper time. What is our eternal service to the Lord? That will come to us when it is necessary. And when that is necessary, irresistibly, it will come to us. Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, there's not a parable, but he gives this example. A pregnant girl says to her mother, "Oh, when the baby's coming, please wake me up then. And when I'm about to give birth, please wake me up for that event so that I don't sleep through it." And the mother says, "No, it's not necessary for me to wake you up. When the baby's coming, you'll know the baby's coming. And not necessary for anybody to wake you up for that." So similarly, when that day comes, when our spiritual awakenment is coming to us, it's not necessary for anybody to tell us about that. That will actually happen automatically, irresistibly. That is something that we're not on any level to even contemplate at this stage. But in this stage, the Guru, the Vaishnavas, they give us some opportunity to serve, to learn how to serve. And if we make ourselves into a cent percent serving unit here in this world, then we may be able to get entrance into that world, because we hear from our masters that qualitatively, to serve here is not different from serving there. Service is service. Only our perception of it may be different, that's all. But to get the service of the divine in this world, that is the path to our liberation, and it is the precursor to our eternal position in the service of the Lord. Every one of us, when Sanatana Goswami asked Mahaprabhu, "Ki ami?" Who am I? And why am I suffering in this material world? Mahaprabhu replied that Jivara Sharupahoy, Krishnera Nitya Das, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti Beda Bed. And you are the Jiva, you're a Jiva. And what is the Jiva? What is the form of the Jiva? Sharupahoy, Jivara Sharupahoy. Nityara Krishna Das, you are eternal servant of Krishna. So not just Sanatan, because he's a guru in Krishna consciousness, but everyone. He's telling that everyone in their pure, unadulterated state, in their soul state, if you like, is the eternal servant of Krishna. Krishnera Tatasta Shakti. That means you're born from the marginal potency of the Lord. There is the Chit Shakti, the spiritual world, the spiritual energy. There is the Jada Shakti, which is this material world. And there is the Tatasta Shakti, in between the two, the marginal position in between the two. And those souls that are born from that Tatasta Shakti, that's us. And that means we have an inherent adaptability to the spiritual world or to the material world. We can adapt ourselves to either. And as things are at the moment, we're adapted to this material world, to the plane of exploitation, where one dog eats the other dog. That's the nature of this world, a dog eat dog world. So everyone's trying to be the biggest dog so that they don't get eaten, that they do the eating. But this is not a happy way to live. So we have the Jiva Shakti, the Tatastha Shakti, has to try to come in connection with the Chit Shakti, the Lord's higher potency, and taking shelter there, serving the Chit Shakti, the Jiva Shakti can progress towards that spiritual domain. And then Krishna Tatastha Shakti, Beda Bed Prakash. And that means you are one with the Lord, but at the same time different from the Lord. Sometimes, when we're preaching, we say, one with the Lord means he is spiritual, you're also spiritual. So you're of the same nature as him. And that's true, but also different from him, because he is infinite and you are finite. He is always the master and you are always a servant. And that never changes. It is not that when you become fully spiritually awakened, that now you will be the master, as some schools will say. Some schools of philosophy, that you are God, is that one idea that and that now you're covered by Maya, but as soon as the Maya becomes done away with, then you will realize that you are God. But that in itself is a ridiculous proposition, that God can be covered by Maya. That is not possible, either philosophically or in reality. Not possible for God to become covered by Maya. Only the Jiva Shakti, the Tatastha Shakti, can be covered by Maya. Of course, in the spiritual world, there is another type of Maya, that is Yoga Maya, but that is for the Leela of Lord Krishna. And that is something else. But here in this material world, everyone is dancing to the tune of the Mahamaya. Mahamaya, or the Durga, now is coming up to Durga Puja, very big festival, especially in Bengal, but all over India. The Navaratri, starting in a few days, 9 days, culminating with the Durga Puja. But Durga means prison, one meaning of the word Durga. So the Durga, she is the goddess. She is Mahamaya, and she is the goddess that keeps us here in this material world, in the prison of this material world. And it's such a brilliant prison that all of the inmates, they actually think they're free. So, you can't have a better prison than that, because you don't need to put any guards or any locks or anything. Everyone's running around thinking that they're free, but in fact they're all prisoners. And she, Durga or Maya, she has 10 arms, and in each of those arms she has a different weapon, and those weapons are meant for keeping us subdued here in this material world. But the truth is, she only has to raise her eyebrow and we're fully captivated by her. We become her slave immediately. And because why? Because she's the goddess, and this is her service given to her by Lord Krishna. Sometimes she feels a little ashamed or doesn't like to show her face before the Lord because of this service, keeping the jivas bound. But as they say, somebody has to do it. That's her service. So some people mistakenly think if we worship her, she'll give us an easier ride in the material world, so to say, if we can satisfy her. And then maybe she'll also give us liberation from the material world. But that is not possible, because that's not within her gift. It is not within the gift of the Mahamaya or the Durga to give freedom to the Jiva souls, a liberation from this for the Jiva souls. And Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Daiviyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Daratyaya, that this Maya is my Maya, is my part of my divine energy. No one can cross over her. except those that surrender to me. And those that surrender to me, she withdraws from them by my command. She will leave them and they will come under my shelter. So this is the process. If we serve Lord Krishna, and more importantly, for us, the service of Lord Krishna means the service of Guru and Vaishnava. They are the real thing to us. Krishna is something very far away at this stage to us. But the nearest you can say representative of Krishna is Guru and Vaishnava. If we can serve them and we can satisfy them, that is actually the real service to Lord Krishna. Krishna himself has told that. Those who say they're my devotee, they may not actually be my devotee in reality. But those who say they are the devotee of my devotee, the servant of my devotee, those I consider to be actually my devotee. And of course, it's not just a profession. Just to say that isn't enough. You have to actually be that. You have to make yourself the servant of the Vaishnavas, the servant of Gurudev, servant of the sadhus. Because Krishna knows, he can see. Not just saying, yes, I'm the servant, but not serving. And then we have to, by our actions, we will have to say. We can say anything, isn't it? We can say anything, but if we're sincere, then people will understand who we are, not by our words, but by our activity. So what do? If we say we're a devotee of Lord Krishna, how are we a devotee of Lord Krishna? Where do we see that? Where do we see that devotion? We see that devotion in how the devotees serve Guru and Vaishnava. And the devotees who serve Guru and Vaishnava, they're automatically serving Lord Krishna. Kind of transcendental symbiosis. Service to Guru and Vaishnava means service to Lord Krishna. And those who wish to serve Lord Krishna directly without acknowledging the position of Guru or the position of the Vaishnavas, they're just more or less in imagination. Their service is more or less imaginary. So we should always remember that. We should always aspire and appreciate the position of the Guru and the position of the Vaishnava. And whatever that connection may be with them, however small it may be, if it is genuine and it is sincere, that will bring about the highest fortune for us. So, okay, this is what I wanted to speak about today. So now I'd like to sort of open everything up, and maybe if anyone has some questions, or I don't know who's here actually. I can't see everyone who's here, but if there are those who want to would like to say something, or those who would like to ask a question about this or about anything related with Krishna consciousness, that would be good. We can try and say something or understand something about that. Well, I see, just looking at all the folk who are here, I see that Kumkumdit is here. So she's our senior most Vaishnavi, and she always has something very good to say. So maybe we can start there, Kumkumdit. If you'd like to say a few words, that would be very nice for us, very helpful for us.
My Dandavat, Prabhu, it's been so nice to hear. I'm actually only here to be able to hear all of these nectar without having to wait until it's posted on YouTube. And unfortunately, I'd like to ask you to excuse me because of weakness.
Of course, no need to ask or to be excused. Just we heard a few words from you. That's enough for us today, and to see your smiling face, that's always a blessing also. And so if anyone has a question, I saw maybe something in the chat. Let's see. That's actually it.
I thought that I saw Pandita's hand.
Actually,
Love-
Kumkum Didi, I was sending you a heart. But actually, I did have, it's lovely to see you, Didi, and I did have a question for Devashis Prabhu. If no one else.
Yeah, go ahead. You're a little quiet. Your
Oh,
sound
sorry.
is a little low.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay. That was such a beautiful overview of the verse Devashish Prabhu, and very helpful. And a question came to mind about hearing. You know, how do we hear properly? This may sound a bit funny, but like, how can we really listen to these kinds of truths and not allow our prejudice to cloud our interpretation of these things?
Well, it is one stage of our bhakti sadhana. It's called Shravandas. That means to hear. And it means to hear these things. So we need to hear and discuss these things again and again, because they don't always sink in. And like you say, we also have our preconceived ideas about things, our misconception of things, and sometimes we think we know better. You know, like, yeah, that's all okay, but you know, my life experience tells me this, and so whatever that may be. So, but after Shravandas is Apandas. And Apandas means that what you hear now, that translates into what you do. So that's important. What we hear must now translate into something that changes us, that changes our life. Even in a small way. But I remember when Srila Govinda Maharaj, he was in New York, and one devotee came to see him who was quite famous in ISKCON as a scholar, you know, and Pandit. And so he came to visit Srila Govinda Maharaj, and he's asking many, many questions, philosophical questions, and Gurudev giving answer and so on. And then maybe after the third day or something, he said to that devotee, "So, Prabhu, you are satisfied with my answers?" "Oh, yes, Maharaj. Never thought I'd hear anything like that in my life. You know, it's so wonderful." So then Gurudev said, "Then what will you do with those answers?" And he said, "Oh, I don't really understand what you mean, Maharaj." And he said, "No." Gurudev said, if you're happy with the answers that I have given you over all these days, then you should come with me. So, and then that devotee said, "Oh, Maharaj, I don't have any money right now. I can't really come with you." But Gurudev didn't mean like just physically come with me. He meant like, where I'm going, you should also be going there now. And Gurudev said, "So you've asked so many questions, and I've given so many answers. But if you're not going to do anything with those answers, if that's not going to change your life, then you've been wasting your time, and you've been wasting my time as well." So, you know, then, like I said in the beginning, we shouldn't just be, you know, collecting things. We shouldn't just be, you know, trying to quell our inquisitive mind, or, you know, like, "Oh yeah, I thought about this and I thought about that," and but still remaining in the same position as we always are. Then no, it should actually have some effect on our lives. So of course, and especially when you're hearing from such a Param Vaishnava like Srila Govinda Maharaj, then why you're asking all these questions if you don't expect that to do something to you internally, that it's not going to move you internally. It should do that. As Srila Sridhar Maharaj, sometimes he would say, when people were just asking so many question after question after question, he would say, I am not an inquiry booth. I'm not just set up here as an inquiry booth, like to satisfy your queries. And once he told one devotee, I remember I was there. He was writing a book to bridge the gap between Vaishnavism and Christianity. This was his idea. So he asked Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj, many questions he was asking about Jesus and about, these kind of type of questions. And Guru Maharaj was giving answers, patiently giving, and like beautiful answers. And then he told him about his book, and he said, okay, read something from your book to me, and then he said, and the first line was something like, we have to bridge the gap between Christianity and Gaudiya Vaishnavism, like something like that it was. And Guru Maharaj just said, okay, stopped him right there. And he said, no question of bridging the gap between Christianity and Vaishnavism. One is lower and one is higher, and it'll always be that. That man was okay. And he's asking some more questions. And then finally Guru Maharaj said to him, Prabhu, your questions are like straw to me. And that devotee was like shocked. Oh, like straw. And Guru Maharaj thought, I think Guru Maharaj thought, oh, maybe that was a bit heavy thing to say. And he said, then Guru Maharaj said, but straw is food for some. Straw is a food for some, but not for everyone. So we shouldn't be just trying to, squeeze out answers from Gurudev or Guru Maharaj, like for something to satisfy our curiosity, but rather, this is what I was saying before, it should be relevant to us, and it should be relevant to our spiritual progress. Like, what are you going to do with these answers? So many answers. When Gurudev came to London once, and just after being in Russia, and while he was in Russia, he was gave a lecture at a public hall. Excuse me. And he told me, after the lecture, this lady came up to me, and I knew that she's a disciple of one very famous, like Babaji in Vrindavan, and means Sahajya Babaji. Actually, they're more or less what they all are. And he said, she asked me some question about, intimate question about the Madhura Leela of Radha and Krishna. And he looked at me and he said, Sagar Maharaj became angry and didn't want me to answer that question. I said, but I answered her question. And very good answer I gave also. And afterwards, she came up to me and she said, oh, Maharaj, your answer was so wonderful. Will you be my guru? And he said, I knew already she's connected with this Babaji in Vrindavan. So I said to her, oh, I am a fallen soul. Why would you want connection with me when you have such a big guru in Vrindavan already? And he said, and then she went away like happy. Oh, yes, he said, I had a big guru in Vrindavan, and she went away happy. Then I said to Gurudev, but Maharaj, why didn't you accept her? Because then maybe you could have helped her to go in the right direction. And he looked at me like very seriously, and he said, no, Prabhu, who has gone down that path, it is not within my power to bring them back. And I was like, whoa, okay. So, then we make our choices in our spiritual life, and we cannot always be kind of redeemed from that, at least in this lifetime. I don't know, maybe Srila Gurudev was just being his natural humble self, thinking that he wasn't qualified to, but I don't know. But anyway, that was how seriously he took that one who's going in that direction is not easy to bring them back. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj also, he said in a similar vein, he would say, what's worse, to be a poor man with no money, or to be a man who has counterfeit money? So he said, obviously the poor man, he may be able to get some money later on, or but at least he's an honest man. But the man with counterfeit money, we should try to avoid them like the plague, so to say. So to those who have the wrong conception, when you go so far down there, because it's not only is it wrong, it's offensive too. So those who have this idea, the sadhya, we use that term very, kind of broadly, but those who are deviant, what would Guru Maharaj say? Imitationists. Then those who have taken to that path, not only are they going in the wrong direction, they're actually making a grave offense to the Lord, because they're thinking that with this flesh, they can have some divine relationship with the Lord in this kind of way. So it's and Guru Maharaj said that's the most deplorable thing. Just like, and he used this example, when there's a football match, when the ball comes so close to the goal and then misses, that's considered a great tragedy. And I remember, when the football ground used to be opposite the temple, when the football match was on, you could hear, like 3,000 people all at the same time going, yeah, they missed. Oh, they were all lamenting. It got so close, but then missed. So this is like the position of those who take to the path of that Sahajya path, that imitationists. They got so close to the goal and then missed. What a tragedy. So, but if we can remain in the faithful realm, if we can remain chaste to our Guru and chaste to the conceptions that they have taught us in Mahaprabhu's line, then it's just a matter of time, really. It's just, we just have to continuously be making that adjustment. That some new thing, or I heard some new thing today, slightly different how I'd heard it before, and it's given me a different perspective. And, that means progress. That's a good thing. That's what, we shouldn't be thinking, oh, yeah, I read all the books. I know everything, I read all those books long time ago, but Srila Govinda Maharaj used to say we should read those books again and again and again. And he said, from my childhood, I loved the Bhagavad Gita. And he said, and now, up until now, I try to read Gita every day. And I'm always getting new light from that. So it's not like a fixed thing or a stagnant thing. There's always something new, as we're making some progress in spiritual life. And maybe it's small progress, but some progress, because that's also necessary. Guru Maharaj used to give the example, when you're riding a bicycle, you can't just freewheel. You have to keep pushing the pedals to keep going. If you stop pushing the pedals, maybe you'll freewheel for a little while, but once that momentum's finished, if you don't again start pushing the pedals, what will happen? You'll fall off the bike. So that's like in spiritual life, we have to be always going forward. We always have to be looking for the new light, some new encouragement to help us go on, to go forward. We always need that, and we should always be like anxiously looking for that and trying to find that in the company of the devotees. And those where we find that most intensely, we should try and keep a connection with that. And again, that connection must be, by necessity, must be in the line of service. So, association, Srila Sridhar Maharaj said 99.9% of your spiritual advancement will be dependent on your association. But association doesn't just mean rubbing shoulders. It must be in the line of service, and it must be progressive. So, and if we are genuine in our attempt, then we can make a little more advancement every day. We're none of us perfect, and we don't need to be perfect. But if we can try to make ourselves like even 1% more Krishna conscious today than I was yesterday, then in a year we should be 365% more Krishna conscious. So if that were possible, but something necessary from our side, we need to be pushing those pedals on the bicycle to go forward somehow or another. And that's really the adventure of Krishna consciousness, that you have to be able to find that association and find the way to always be going forward in Krishna consciousness, because we can only freewheel for so long. It's important, and at the same time, it can be difficult to maintain enthusiasm, because that's also required. But sometimes it's not so easy to. Sometimes we get knocked back and knocked over, and maybe we feel hopeless. Srila Govinda Maharaj used to say, Krishna consciousness means you're always traveling the line between hopefulness and hopelessness. Both are there, on the side, but we should try to always go forward. And Gurudev would say, I'm always hopeful, I'm never hopeless. So we have to try to, come into that circle of hopefulness, and then we can try to go forward. And where we find that hopefulness most intensely, let's try to remain in that atmosphere for as long as we can. I'm not sure that really answers your question or not, but just kind of my thoughts about that. I don't know. So, oh my gosh, time has already come away from us, almost at the end. So, does anybody else have a question or before we finish?
That was beautiful, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Dandavat Samada Kumkundidi.
Is that Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhu, I was wondering, I'm losing all the Vaishnavas here in Australia to Thailand, and now I'm losing this morning Sangha because your good self and Maharaj will be in Thailand. So I'm hoping that maybe you will join Maharaj for the Back to Basics, so then I can have your association with Srila Madhusudana Maharaj.
Yeah, let's see. Maharaj did mention that to me, so I shall try to do that if I can.
That'd be so beautiful. That was absolute nectar this morning. Thank you so much. And Dandavats, everyone. Haribol.
And I think somebody else was speaking at the same time, maybe? Or was that?
Yes, I had a question, Devashis Prabhu.
Yeah, who's this?
It's Axel.
Okay.
Um,
Yes. What's the question, bro?
the question is, what is like the best way to slowly introduce Krishna consciousness into your household? Like, what can we begin to do so we can get into the mood as a family?
That's a very good question. Yeah. Krishna consciousness at home. So, I mean, of course, that'll be different for everybody because I don't know what your family setup is, how your relationships with your family members are towards Krishna consciousness. But if you're all, interested in Krishna consciousness, that's very good. Sometimes, one is interested and the other partner is not so interested, or, sometimes even averse to it. So I have to try and gauge how that will be. But I would say, most importantly, is read the books. Read the books of Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Read the books of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj. Read them and try and read them together as a family. And also make some like a sacred space in your home, somewhere in your home where you can all like gather some pictures of Krishna, some pictures of our spiritual masters, like that. Just like this is the sacred place, this is the sacred spot in our house. And try and offer whatever you eat to the Lord in that place. Get some plates, or especially for that, and try and offer everything to the Lord before you eat that. Because if you're only taking prasadam, then that's the cure-all for everything. That everything we eat, if it's the remnants of Krishna and his devotees, then we must make spiritual progress. But most importantly is to understand what spiritual progress means. And that means from the books, by reading the books. After all, the books are another form of association, because they're the words of our spiritual masters, which have been, edited and condensed into a book form, so we can refer to them over and over again. And it's always good to try and start your day with in a spiritual way, because our minds, it's like a rocket, and whichever direction you launch it into, it'll go that way for the rest of the day. So if at the beginning of your day you try and do some spiritual practices together, is good. But as much as possible, try and do some spiritual practice, chanting together, reading something together, even if it's only, like a few verses or a few words, like something that set your day in the right direction. And you'll find very soon that your whole life trajectory, day by day, is going in the spiritual direction. And you must feel joyful for that and happy for that, and it'll stand you in good stead. It'll help you to be able to deal with the world as you're going on, because it's going in a Krishna conscious way. This is the best thing to do as a family, how to introduce these things into your life as a family. And if sometimes it doesn't work out, you can't do it for whatever reason, like, don't beat yourself up about it. Just try again, keep trying. The thing about Krishna consciousness is we need to keep trying, because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whatever advancement you make in this regard, you never lose that. And Krishna says, what my devotees they have, I'll preserve that, and what they lack, I give them that. So this is, it's a progressive thing. Krishna consciousness, a progressive thing. And so I would say, first and foremost, read something every day and try and do that as a family. And also try and keep the association of good devotees that you have faith in, that are like-minded to you. And those who are already established in Krishna consciousness, try and get their association and learn from them how they manage to continue in spiritual life. I think that would be my advice, Prabhu. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Devashish Prabhu. That's very helpful.
Very welcome. Okay, everybody. So our time is up for this evening. Unless someone has like a burning question before we go, but in case I don't know when we'll meet again. I did tell Maharaj I'll try and join on his back to Bhakti Basics, and while I'm in Thailand, and maybe we can arrange something there for those who are kind of in the time zone. But in any case, 3 weeks, I'll be away there about 3 weeks. Then after that, we can all join again. And that will be very good for me, and I hope beneficial for you all too, and with Maharaj as well. So thank you all for this evening. It just remains for us to say, Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. All the world devotees Ki Jai. All Chaitanya Saraswat Acharya Brinda Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai. All the devotees who joined with us today, all the devotees that may see this later on in its recorded form, all the devotees all over the world, please accept my humble obeisances. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevcha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And look after each other and try and always stay in the association of the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
Jai Sripad Devashish Prabhu ki Jai.